with a not a greeting, because we are continuing. Let's just dive right back in. What I would be shocked would not be the finale, but I mean, this would be a kind of short chapter, I guess. Oh, Midsummer 1985. Oh, we're back to where we started. Okay. Sir! Sir! We're preparing to land. Excuse me, but will you please fasten your seatbelt? It seemed I had fallen fast asleep inside the plane. I was finally awoken from my slumber by the stewardess. I only had carry-on luggage on top of it being a domestic flight, so the time between disembarking and entering the lobby was almost non-existent. Arriving at the lobby, this isn't the lobby. Was there a lobby? My brain is like, was this lobby screen used? Oh, but no, it couldn't. Also, I haven't looked at Umineko in over half a decade at least. Why I would think that. Anyway, arriving at the lobby, glanced around, looking for Ooishi, and was met with a familiar, gruff voice calling out to me. Oh, wait, we gotta get his music. Oh, yes, we are! Akasaka-san! How many years has it been? It's been a while, hasn't it? Oh, he is just chipper, isn't he? Ooishi-san! It really has been a long time. Ooishi clapped his hand down on my shoulder, celebrating our reunion. Oh, this gives me such a big smile. Akasaka-san, you're looking pretty good. You look like a bona fide frontline investigator now. You're looking quite dapper yourself. Your posture seems a lot better. Is the ballroom dancing paying off? You should give it a try while you're still young. You'd be a hit with the ladies. A real babe magnet. Ooishi had retired and moved to Sapporo, and of all things, had started taking ballroom dancing lessons. I am gonna just lower the volume slightly on this one because this track still feels really loud. Anywho, of all things, he'd apparently gotten really into it and had decided to spend the rest of his new life devoted to that hobby. He was aiming to get his instructor's qualifications before he hit 80 and live out his old age dandily as a dandy gentleman. I let myself into Ooishi's car, air conditioned of course, and we headed out towards the hot spring inn. I had originally intended to crash at Ooishi's place, but Ooishi was quite obstinate that his home wasn't suitable for that, so it came to this. At the inn, we relaxed while soaking in the hot springs, reminiscing about the time we played mahjong together in Inamizawa. It seemed that to celebrate our reunion, Ooishi had looked for people who could play, but unable to find a suitable candidate, we had to give up on putting together a table. Aww. As we drank together, we excitedly recounted our exploits during the final manhunt. Did they end up catching those two guys? Nope. In the end, the search team never found them. Yeah, that's what I was... They were probably hidden by the villagers and sent overseas or somewhere else far away to lay low for it. Ooishi-san, if I remember correctly, you managed to grab one of their guns, didn't you? Did you learn anything from that? It was Chinese-made military. Probably from the ones the gangs in Kansai managed to smuggle in a ton of. We tried to get a match from the rifling, but it didn't show up in any other cases. How about on your end? After that, I was removed from the front lines, so I don't know much. In the end, it seems like everything was settled under the veil of secrecy. Ooishi smiled wryly as he sipped his chilled drink. What happened after that? Sure was tough. Huh. Will be 7 years now? Yeah. We held the memorial service a few days ago. I've become estranged with my father-in-law lately, so it was rough getting everything ready. That must have been a lot of work. It was then that the hostess brought in the extra drinks that we had ordered before. While the bottles of beer clanked as she brought them in, we halted our conversation. What Ooishi meant when he said it must have been tough. Thinking about that was still hard, but time had healed the wound. It was the day after. I phoned Ooishi to apologize. When I did, Ooishi almost immediately handed the phone to one of my colleagues who happened to be there. Not only was I injured in the brawl with suspects, but I disappeared to drink late into the night without leaving any sort of contact information, so I thought he'd definitely be mad. However, all he said was that it was something he couldn't talk about over the phone, and that I should come to the station as soon as possible. At the time, I could only think that he must have been really pissed off. But when I arrived at the station, that's it. Seems your wife was involved. Having no idea what happened, I borrowed the phone to contact the hospital Yuki was staying at. After being given the runaround several times, finally able to talk to someone in charge. After mincing words for quite some time, they told me Akasaka was killed in an accident. The world became a blur as I sat there dumbfounded. His death was believably abrupt and believably sudden. I could have understood if there was some kind of problem during the birth, but his death wasn't anything like that. On the stairs, on the way up to the roof, just happened to slip and fall. She just happened to fall on an unfortunate place, at an unfortunate angle. That was it. Wanting to blame Yuki's death on somebody, I began to think that it was an act of revenge by the Defense Alliance, that they killed my wife and made it look like an accident. What I learned when I flew back to Tokyo, however, was much more cruel than that. Yuki had a habit of going up to the roof to cool off in the evening. There was an elevator up to the 7th floor, but from there you had to take the stairs to get to the roof. Even late in her pregnancy, when the evening came, she would always head up there. Her father had always said for her not to push herself, but Yuki insisted. Till the time she had no choice but to stay in bed, she should be allowed to do what she wished. However, I had never once seen Yuki go up to the roof. I only heard that from her father and the nurse. That was because whenever I visited her, she would spend that time with me instead. I heard the reason why Yuki went up to the roof. Friendly with her. He had said that her husband was away on business a lot of the time, and that whenever he called, he was able to cheer him up and give him courage, but when he didn't call, she couldn't do that. Her husband might put on a show of bravado, but in reality, he grew lonesome pathetically fast. She was probably just the same. Whenever he left for business, not clear when he'd be back, felt very lonely. Whenever she cheered him up, she was actually cheering herself up as well. That's why whenever he went far away for an important job, on the evenings he didn't call, at the very least, he felt that standing underneath the same sky, her feelings. At that moment, I remembered the words that girl had told me, that it was best that I go back to Tokyo right away. Why is there'd be something I regret? That's it. I was Yukie had headed up to the roof. Had I known that this would have been the result, had I done as the girl had said, I dropped everything back to Tokyo. I might have been with Yukie on the day she died. If I was with her, we wouldn't have gone up to the roof. The day my wife died, on the evening of the third day of my trip. Yes. It was right before the time I had the sudden urge to hear Yukie's voice. It ran around the village, trying to find a phone. The girl had gone around and cut all the phone cords. If she hadn't, and I had made that call, I would have undoubtedly learned of Yukie's death and collapsed in tears. Of course, even though the cords were cut, it had only put me off learning of Yukie's death by that one evening. In the end, I had learned of it the next morning. However, when I managed to put my emotions in order, I realized it was that girl's small token of consideration. That's the first I've heard about that. Yeah. Yeah. The first time we talked about it. Nahahaha. Could have been a coincidence? Doesn't have any special powers or anything. Aren't you the one who told me, Ooishi-san, that she might be the reincarnation of the god called Oyashiro-sama? Well, yeah. The old folks in the village believed that Furude Rika had divine powers. Ooishi had originally said it as a kind of joke, but realizing that I was serious, he slumped his shoulders. I don't know if it's the truth or not. They said things like things, prophesize the future, talk about things she should have no way of knowing. It was clairvoyant, that it was divine revelation. Well, all sorts of course things. Examples, though. Ha 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 ha. Prophesized Yukie's accident. Well, she tried to laugh it off, but out of respect to my deceased wife, kept it restrained. Does that mean an active and capable investigator from the Metropolitan Police Department believed in divine powers and curses? Having him say that so bluntly. Of course, I had no intention of believing such odd things, but I could only say that because he didn't know what I did. As I met that other girl who both wasn't rika, I couldn't deny the existence of any otherworldly entity. Of course, I can't deny that it might not have been prescience, but rather a warning. Not prescience, but rather about a warning. If what that girl had said was a warning about Yukie's accident, then things became much easier to understand. Basically, the line of thinking became that it was a threat. Because I didn't go back to Tokyo, my wife was killed in a way that made it look like an accident. Not satisfied with the investigation into your wife's accident? Of course, I suspected foul play. I pored over the results and even carried out my own personal investigation. There weren't any witnesses to Yukie's fall. There was the possibility that someone had waited to push Yukie down the stairs. However, the cleaning ladies frequented the roof to hang laundry, and the security cameras on each floor hadn't recorded anything out of the ordinary. There wasn't anything set up on the stairs, and I was unable to find anything suspicious. In the end, after my personal investigation, I can't think that anything else happened other than a simple accident. Oh, of course. These were the guys that took the minister's grandson hostage. It wouldn't be possible for them to push a lone pregnant woman down the stairs without leaving any evidence. Ooishi's expression had completely sobered up. They murdered your wife? When Yukie died, I thought that as well. More precisely, I wanted to blame somebody, so I created the most viable scapegoat, but without any clear evidence, that violent notion faded along with the wounds in my heart. Did that girl know beforehand about my wife's death and was threatening me? Or did she prophesize that death and was offering me a road to salvation? If I had to choose between the two, I would tend towards the latter. Ooishi smiled slightly in disbelief as he poured more beer from his bottle. Then, if I may, if what you say is true, then Rika was a prophet. If so, why didn't she predict that disaster? She knew that the gas eruption was going to happen. Why did she remain silent? Even a few hours beforehand, enough. If the village knew, then most of the people would have escaped without dying. It was near the end of June 1983. Volcanic gases from the Onigafuchi swamp erupted and hit the village in the middle of the night. It was an unprecedented disaster where the whole village populace was wiped out. It caused a wave of panic about volcanic gas across the country, causing people to overreact over any reports of odd smells. I hadn't heard of the blockade on the Hinamizawa area being lifted, so it should still be cordoned off. Yet, it was my turn to be lost for a response. Well, if Rika, the incarnation of Oyashiro-sama, was killed, then the village might have heard the god's wrath, making him call forth the miasma from the swamp to kill everyone. That explanation is what the survivors are wondering about. Sorry, Ooishi-san, did you just say she was killed? Huh? Ah, yeah. Well, I don't think it would be a problem if I told you. When I saw the news about the gas disaster, I remembered that girl and then found her name in the list of victims. That's why at the time, I thought her own death she had predicted was due to the gas. It was after that I learned from the tabloids of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa during the 5 years leading up to the disaster that became known as the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. And that string of mysterious deaths lined up exactly with what the girl had predicted, so I had always thought to ask Ooishi about it as he had been involved in the investigation. That's right. That was the reason for our reunion. But right now, Ooishi had said Rika Furude didn't die in the disaster, but was killed? Can I ask you about the last year of the curse? I may be retired, but I still have to keep things confidential, you know? Excuse me, madam, do you have anything cold that's brewed locally high grade? If there is, I'll leave the selection to you. Oh my, I didn't mean it that way. Well, she laughed loudly, not wholly unsatisfied, and stopped the hostess to tell her that the cheap booze was fine. I know as much as was written in those magazines, but I don't know anything about the curse that happened the year of the disaster. Because the entire area around Hinamizawa was sealed off, you see? There wasn't much of an investigation that could be done on the last year of the curse. Even if after several years the quarantine is lifted, villagers are mostly dead, and the few survivors there were mostly went to stay with relatives, their whereabouts mostly unknown. A complete dead end. Ooishi seemed to postulate to himself as he stared at the ceiling, as if trying to work out a memory from the rusty cogs in his head. Then he said in a completely sober voice, "The magazines made it seem like the curse of the 5th year was that disaster. But the actual curse really happened on the day of the Watanagashi festival. A photographer by the name of Tomitake Jiro. He was the victim." Ooishi gestured about how the victim tore out his own throat with his fingernails as he talked. And the burnt corpse of the woman Tomitake was in a relationship with was found in the mountains in Gifu. The Gifu prefectural police weren't very cooperative, so I don't know much about it, though. There were 2 victims in one night? Actually, see, it wasn't just those 2. You see, the next day, Kumagai-kun, one of my subordinates, disappeared along with his car in the middle of his investigation. Kumagai was a younger detective that was going to be partnered with Ooishi after we first met. He was going around the village to question people about the incident with Tomitake. He might have gotten caught up in something. If he was with me, he might have been safe. And now it's still... Kuma-chan! That day, for some reason, I did a real number on my stomach. I had to pass on going around outside. He got too close to the truth, made to disappear. That's what I think. Ooh, it's our music! Kuma-chan was young and had a promising future ahead of him, but he still didn't have enough experience on the scene. He wasn't used to dealing with any complications. Ooishi lamented the fact that he wasn't with a subordinate that day. And then the next day, see? You know him as well, Akasaka-san. Ah! You know, Dr. Yurie. You remember him? That young doctor from the hospital. I vaguely remember. For whatever reason, he committed suicide with sleeping pills. No suicide note or anything. The autopsy confirmed that it was the sleeping pills. Nothing was in doubt except for the motive. It isn't that hard to make it look like somebody died from taking sleeping pills, is it? Any possibility it was a murder? He was single, no prior marriages. It didn't seem like he was going out with anybody in particular. He was the coach of the local junior baseball team and was on good terms with the villagers. He was liked by everybody. I couldn't find anybody who would want to do him harm. Well, any chances to investigate were ruined by the disaster, though. There's no way to find out anything about him now. Then what about Rika's death? It was the day of. Around noon, some of the old folks who were visiting the shrine discovered the corpse of Rika. Murder? Before we continue, you should probably stop eating that squid somen. That bad? Ooishi nodded firmly. The corpse was found on the shrine grounds, next to the donation box. Although she was probably killed somewhere else. And that's because, while she was completely naked, there wasn't any dirt on the soles of her feet. Any sign it was some sort of assault? According to the autopsy, there wasn't any indication of that. What we know was that she was rendered unconscious by some sort of drug, carried to that place, then had her abdomen sliced wide open. Her organs were deliberately removed and scattered about. Unconscious. Then she wasn't cut open after her death? That girl's prediction was right on the mark. I'm pretty sure she was more detailed about the other deaths that led up to her own. For example, I think she said that the housewife that was beaten to death on the 4th year had her head split open. Then in that case, did she know that her own death would be so terrible? There must have been some moments where she wanted to doubt the validity of her own predictions. But as people died exactly as prophesied, as the years passed, prophecy closer to fruition. And then facing the final year, unable to struggle against her own destiny, for all too young life was snuffed out. And in a cruel way. Knowing that her days were numbered, and unable to fight the tide of events heralding her end, my heart ached at her helplessness. About the way she died, it seems like it wasn't just somebody's sick taste. What I'm saying is, I've told you before about how Hinamizawa used to be home to demons, didn't I? Yeah, I think I remember. The festival in Hinamizawa village, Watanagashi, the cotton drift, seems to stem from the drifting of entrails. It seems that it came from the man-eating demons ripping apart their victims and throwing their organs into the river. In other words, in Hinamizawa, pulling out entrails had some sort of religious meaning? Well, this is according to the old tales in Hinamizawa, you see. To act as an arbitrator so that the humans and the man-eating demons could live together peacefully, a god known as Oyashiro-sama descended from the heavens. If I recall, Rika was said to be the living incarnation of that Oyashiro-sama, wasn't she? Yeah. So, cutting open Rika, who was a living god, would be to the village nothing less than absolute sacrilege. Absolute sacrilege. In other words, you mean sacrilege towards Oyashiro-san. The rest you should know, Akasaka-san. The wrath of Oyashiro-sama would occur the same night. The Great Hinamizawa Disaster. The official explanation was that some swamp upstream erupted with toxic volcanic gas which enveloped the village. The swamp where it erupted was called Onigafuchi Swamp, was the origin of Hinamizawa's old name, Onigafuchi Village. According to village lore, the depths of the swamp apparently lead to hell, where the man-eating demons came from. That almost seems too perfect. Oh, no, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There was another bit of folklore in the village. If Oyashiro-sama became angry, the cauldron of hell would open up and miasma would flow out. Or, so they say. The villager. Hell was at the bottom of the swamp. So basically, the miasma poured out, smothering the village? Yeah. Basically, due to the sacrilegious way that Rika, the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama, was killed, the village incurred the wrath of Oyashiro-sama in the form of that disaster. That seems to be their explanation. So what you're saying is that the disaster wasn't a natural one? Well, everything does seem to fit together a little too well. If Oyashiro-sama's curse doesn't really exist, and everything really was just a matter of coincidence, I would doubt it. A wry smile formed on Oishi's face as he listened to my absurd take on things. He wore an expression as though, even if it were absurd, there was a time where he had thought the same things as well. In regards to the religious beliefs of the villagers, suppose there was a more fanatical following among them, and that group created a situation that would incur Oyashiro-sama's wrath and enacted the disaster to make it seem like the truth. Of course, I won't laugh. I've wandered down that line of reasoning more than once myself. However, even though Hinamizawa is a small village, it still has a population of over 1,000 people. Murder that many in a single night doesn't seem realistic, no matter how you think about it. The gas eruption was believed to have happened around 2 a.m., several hours before dawn. In that short amount of time, going around and killing all the villagers in a way that made it look like poison gas didn't seem feasible at all. The swamp the gas erupted from still had some sort of religious significance, didn't it? If that's the case, then maybe there was something set up in the swamp. Something that could be activated whenever a divine verdict was rendered. According to the JSDF press release, the swamp was declared the source of the eruption. This was after everything was thoroughly looked over by their investigative team. If anything like that was set up, I think they would have found it. It wouldn't necessarily have to be in the swamp itself. Come on, haven't you ever heard about it? The old story about how when a faraway spring dried up, the village spring dried up as well? What do you mean by that? Many waterways are connected by underground aquifers. Swamps and springs are only the parts that manage to pop up above the surface. So what you're saying is that the Onikafuchi swamp is connected to another swamp or spring, and there's something the villagers rigged up there long ago, something that changes the pressure of Onikafuchi swamp, causing it to erupt with poison gas? Is that what you're getting at? Ooishi laughed heartily, commending the fact that the young'uns have a nice, flexible way of thinking. That was the former detective in him. Even though it was a hypothesis that he didn't come up with, he still had the presence of mind to not dismiss it right away. That's an interesting theory. If that proves to be true, then it would be unprecedentedly the largest mass murder in the history of Japan. Once the quarantine on Hinamizawa village is lifted, I think it should definitely be investigated. Ooishi-san, do you still have any connections with the XX Prefectural Police? Somewhat. I'm an honorary advisor for their judo classes, so even now I pop by during summer training camps and such. I don't know when the quarantine on Hinamizawa village will be lifted, but please, let me help investigate. Got it. Ooishi-san, how do you feel about the string of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa they call the curse of Oyashiro-sama? At the time, the villagers were putting a lot of pressure on the station. The official stance on things was that the cases were unrelated, that each case was separate, each with its own resolution. That couldn't be. Even though it was blatantly obvious that the cases were connected based on the village's religious beliefs? Akasaka-san, we can only say that now because of the rather grandiose way things ended after 5 years. At the time, those coincidental incidents just happened to coincidentally occur on the day of Watanagashi. It would be nice if nothing happened this year kinda feel to it. Coincidence? The girl predicted everything from the beginning. Girl? Rika. That child warned me about it all the instant. But that child warned me about all the incidents that would happen afterward. Akasaka-san, is that true? Yes. The girl said as much, that the next year the damn foreman would be killed and his corpse dismembered. Not only that, she warned me of all the events that would transpire in the following years. Akasaka-san, when she told you all about that, what year was it? When I met the girl, I was investigating the kidnapping incident. So, June of 1978. The year before the dismemberment murder. Wrinkles formed between Ooishi's eyebrows as he closed his eyes and began to digest what I just told him. Akasaka-san, you're wrong about Furude Rika noting... Blah. Akasaka-san, if you're wrong about Furude Rika knowing the future through some divine medium, this is getting ridiculous. Yep. If you're just trying to shock me, I'm going to be really angry, you know? I'm speaking the truth. Script behind the chain of mysterious deaths was written before it even started. And just as predicted, Rika was killed. At first, I thought she meant that she would be killed in the disaster. However, now I know that her death wasn't due to that, but rather an atrocious one at the hands of a murderer. She said she would be killed. At that point, she knew more or less how her own death would occur. Then why didn't Frederica not try and run away? Even if her death was already spelled out for her. Knowing that, she still had a grace period of several years, didn't she? She had plenty of time to try and run away or consult the police. Why just accept her death with no resistance? I don't know. Even though Frederica was doted upon by the older folks in the village, after she lost her parents, she had no living relatives and lived a fairly solitary life, other than hanging around with some close friends. It might have been she didn't have any power to fight or anybody to rely on. Must have tried signaling somebody for help in regards to her own death, though. You know very well that the village and the police weren't very amicable with one another. At the very least, I never heard about Fururerika seeking protection from anybody. Or it could be that she simply resigned herself, being a religious sacrifice. It could have been something like that. No way that. I spoke decisively. At that time, I said it. She had definitely said that she wanted to live happily. That she wanted to spend her time surrounded by her dear friends. She hadn't given up on life. She had hoped to keep on living. Ah, at that moment, I became dumbstruck. Akasaka-san? No, it's nothing. I fell into silence. Ooishi folded his arms and began murmuring in contemplation again. Eventually, he stood up and headed towards the hallway to find the hostess yelling that he wanted pen and paper. Ooishi, noisy, even though he was just thinking, left the room immediately, fell into a chilled silence. Stood up. It was then I realized that I was drunk enough to be unsteady on my feet. I slid open the window. Beautiful, yet somehow a ephemeral moon drifted across the night sky. Just now did I realize she hadn't accepted her own death. She wanted to keep living, happily, joyously. She had said that quite clearly to me. But I was a fool. I hadn't been asked explicitly, though I hadn't realized it. She had made it clear as day that she didn't want to die. Wasn't that her cry for help? She didn't say as much that she wanted help, but even given that, it wasn't as though she wasn't looking for salvation. Without any family, unable to trust the police, she instead told somebody without any relation to the village, somebody from a faraway place. Me. Help me. She had gone around and cut the phone cords. If I had made that phone call and learned of Yukie's death, I probably would have fallen into despair. If I was in that state, even if she was looking for help, her cries would have fallen on deaf ears. That's why. Knowing everything, she had cut the phone cords. She wanted even a little time to seek help from me. Ooishi, just before now, had lamented that one of the younger officers had gotten mixed up in a case, having been erased because he wasn't there. I was feeling the same way. If only I was there in June of 1983, I could have protected her. In 1983, it would have been 5 years since the kidnapping took place. While raising the only daughter, Yukie had left me, putting all my youth and passion into my work, honing my wits and courage, wrestling with difficult cases. Nothing like my failings during the kidnapping incident would have occurred. I wouldn't have been slow to react in a one-on-one fight, and by that point, I'd jump into foreign mafia-run gambling parlors where I'd learned to deal with automatic weapons, let alone handguns. I had grown so much that in 1983 I couldn't have been even compared to how I was in 1978. That's why, if I was by her side, I should have been able to save her life. No matter what conspiracy or foul plots drew near, I definitely would have protected her. She, even though sounding resigned, should have still been able to ask me for help. I just didn't realize it. I couldn't realize it. Just as I wouldn't have realized it if I was told of Yukie's accident. I wasn't able to realize it. I wanted to cry. If I had taken her words to heart, I would have prevented Yukie's accident, and I would have been able to protect the girl to whom I owed a debt from even a predetermined death. She must have been expecting that from me. I learned about the disaster while watching television in my house. Until I learned about that, I had forgotten about Hinamizawa. In order to recover from the shock of Yukie's death, I had tried to remove everything about that place from my memory. What an ungrateful fool I was! Even though in exchange for saving her, the girl had told me of a way to save Yukie, I wasn't able to accept her gratitude, and now here we were. She had died in her sleep due to a natural disaster. She was split open while still alive, killed while suffering the disgrace of having her organs torn out. She must have known beforehand that on that day, on that year, she would be killed in such a terrifying way. But even knowing what end awaited her, she was all too weak. A lone girl, without anybody to rely on, unable to seek help, had to swallow her own predetermined death, and left this mortal coil. She said she wanted to live. She said she just wanted to live happily. That's all she wanted. She didn't ask for anything extravagant. For any person that was ever born, it was the very basest of desires. She never said a peep about wanting money, or that she wished she was in somebody else's situation. had said it. That if all deaths were preordained, then hers was probably also all according to plan. She might have been a lone, frail girl, but I don't think she would have accepted it all without at least putting up a fight. There must have been some small way, some form of resistance that she mustered. And with what she could muster. Seeking my help was part of that. God damn it! I howled. I stomped the floor. Why did I become a police officer in the first place? How could I call myself an officer if I couldn't save a single girl from the misfortune that was awaiting her? Was it because there was so much going on at the time that I couldn't process the fact that she was asking for help? Yeah, that's right, I was still green. If I was in that situation now, I would definitely have been able to help her. But it was already all over. Even if I wanted to settle the regrets she left behind, Inamizawa, as a dangerous area, was still quarantined. Most of the people involved were already dead, with the few that did remain spread around the country, unable to be traced. The stage of that tragedy was still off limits as well. The police investigation was put on hold, the case slowly being buried in the sands of time. Just like how I wouldn't have known unless Ooishi had asked me about it. Akasaka-san, are you okay? At some point, Ooishi had returned with a notebook in hand. Until I saw the expression on Oishi's face, I didn't realize that I was in tears. I never realized. She wanted help. Akasaka-san, calm down. But it's all too late now. She was killed in such an atrocious manner. She was counting on me. But I couldn't save her. I might also be at fault for not building up an amicable relationship with the village. If Rika had told me about it, I might have been able to extend a helping hand. I wasn't able to build enough trust for that. That's something I regret. I know she said the word trust. It weighed on me even more. Yes. She had given me her trust. She trusted me. Meaning that she thought that I would have been able to ward off the fate of her foreseen death. She believed in that. I cried. I fell to my hands and knees as I began to bawl. Eventually, she spoke quietly. Akasaka-san, does it upset you? It does! Then, there's only one way worth mentioning for Rika to have her revenge. Is there really? Is there a way to do that? Well, she showed me the pen and notebook. In order to properly mourn the death of Rika, we have to at least find out the truth. The truth. Yes. Not just Rika. Lots of people died. Their lament must be immeasurable. But their deaths were left unsettled because of the disaster, and now we can't even investigate them. As their memory fades into oblivion. Many people died. The old man was killed. Kuma-chan was erased. Everybody was a victim. But the police can't even investigate it. Who's going to take care of their parting regrets? Only we can. Akasaka-san. We find truth. Yeah, we'll find it. I've been around every one of the string of mysterious deaths. Know all the inner workings of the village. You were told an important truth the year before they happened by Rika. We can do it. But they're already dead. That's right. Rika died. You were too inexperienced, so you couldn't save her. Boy, she grabbed me, who was a ref, and lifted me firmly by the lapels. That's why. To atone for that, we reveal the truth. What you say is true, then all the incidents were part of some greater design. If that's the case, then how we investigate needs to change completely. I intend to spend tonight summarizing all the information you and I have, and then get in contact with one of my former subordinates first thing in the morning. We're not going to let the case go cold. We're definitely going to crack it wide open. Crack it open. Crack it open. We will. Several years have passed, but it's not beyond the statute of limitations. Even if the case has been postponed, it's not closed. It's still going. We're going to keep it going. Ooishi and I vowed to bring the truth of the case to light and stood up. Everything ended in 1985. I, at least wanting to apologize, had searched for her grave. After the state autopsy, her remains were entrusted to one of the shrine's followers. In the future, when the quarantine on Hinamizawa area lifted, they would be returned to her family grave. However, unsure who exactly took the remains of Rika. Until today, I couldn't even apologize to her. In the future, when the quarantine on Hinamizawa is lifted, all I could do then was wait until whoever that person is returned to the grave. What I could do right now was not apologize to her. Instead, until I was able to meet her again, I would reveal the truth and dispel her regrets. Even now, sporadic eruptions of gas in the Hinamizawa area meant that the prospect of the quarantine being lifted wasn't happening anytime soon. Most likely. It seemed that she had no intention of meeting me again until I found the truth. That's why the quarantine wouldn't be lifted, or so I thought. Until the day I grasped the truth. It was the following year. Ooishi and I co-authored a book on the string of mysterious deaths leading up to the great Hinamizawa disaster. I decided on the title, oh god, Higurashi When They Cry. That was because for those few days I was in Hinamizawa, the sound that I remembered the most was the cry of the Higurashi. I could only wish that based on this book, those people involved with that incident could refresh their memories and bring to light a new truth. And more importantly, that nothing like this ever happens again. I wrote this in the afterword. Why did this tragedy happen? We can't reach the truth by ourselves. If you're reading this, please discover the truth. That is our only wish. Ooishi Kuraudo, Akasaka Mamoru. This year, the quarantine on Hinamizawa still hasn't been lifted. God damn it. I almost made it through the answer arcs without fucking crying. All right, let's hope let's laugh. Let's laugh. This will be fun, right? Jesus Christ. Question, not answer. Did I say answer? I meant question. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, hold on. That's not right. God damn it, I'm all nasally now. I can't do it. Thank you very much for playing Higurashi When They Cry, Himatsubushi. Moo-foo-foo. I don't mind, no matter what anybody else says, I was the star of the scenario this time. Damn right. On top of that, they added some nice jazzy theme music. If you can't laugh here, where can you laugh? Anyways, hasn't there been too much of you lately, Ooishi? There's never enough, Ooishi. What do you mean by that? Rika-san. She meant that literally. It's rather impudent of you to try and hog the spotlight here, even though you already had all that screen time. Besides Rika-chan, who was the main heroine, everybody else didn't really have any appearances, did they? I heard that this time this scenario was a bit of a side story, but I didn't think that they would leave out the main cast this much. You didn't have it so bad, Mion-san. At least you had a few appearances, did you not? Both Rena-san and I didn't even have a cameo. Rena still shows up on the covers a lot, so she's still okay. Exactly what are you trying to say, then? That I was the only outcast with no appearance, is that it? They only treated me horribly. How sad, how sad. They'll probably just keep treating you worse and worse until you finally drop down to a supporting role. That's just too much. Oh, if you only knew, Rika. That's not true. There's lots of people who who like Satoko-chan. They won't treat you that horribly, okay? I don't like being treated like this. I think you'll probably have a lot of appearances next time. Next is Miyakashi, right? Oh, cheer up, okay? But I'd heard that this scenario was supposed to be somewhat of a bonus story, but is it really? I think that thing's kinda got complicated. The story was difficult for me to understand. Yeah, what I found the hardest to believe was that the year before the string of mysterious deaths, Rika-chan already knew about them. Which means all the incidents were part of someone's scenario. That's a pretty important piece of information. It's probably because I'm a shrine maiden, so I knew the future from Oyashiro-sama's divine revelations. For somebody who, like me, who believes in the theory that it was the work of human culprits, I'd like to deny that. I believe in the curse so that Rika-chan, who's the living incarnation of the deity that protects Shinamizawa, Oyashiro-sama, would have that divine power is a possibility, I think. Nope. For someone who thinks it's the work of man, that kind of unfounded fantasy will not stand. All the incidents were caused by people. There's no curse or magic or aimbots or cheat codes. It would be wonderful if I could use magic, though. If it's Rika-chan, I could go along with that. How? Well, for the people who believe it was the work of humans, the ending was a big revelation. From the first incident until Rika-chan was killed in the Great Disaster, everything was scripted. Knowing that it's all one big incident vastly increases the amount of material you can hypothesize with. I think that the prophecy is proof in itself that Rika-chan has some divine power. In other words, it's proof that there's some mysterious power at work in Hinamizawa. I think it's proof that the incidents weren't the work of humans alone. The inside of my head is so muddled I don't know what's going on. Oh, that's right, more importantly, that expression that Rika-chan was wearing this time. That was super scary, wasn't it? Me? Yeah, I was surprised too. I never thought that cute little Rika-chan would laugh like that. Hey, just for a little bit. Could you show us that face one more time? I don't want to. I don't want her to do that outside of the story. Oh. What is this? A blackout. Nobody move. Make your movements and you'll come to face with a combo trap that takes you from a pendulum to a landmine to an electric chair with a buzzsaw. Sotoko? What's the meaning of this? We'll now be starting the after party for everybody who didn't have an appearance this time. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. Hello again, everybody. I didn't think that I'd make my appearance here, of all places. I'm delighted, though. Satoko-chan, thank you. Oh, hello, everybody. Oh my, didn't I warn you not to move? Yubu-san, are you okay? Kojo-san, you didn't have to go this far. The grudge of somebody not making an appearance is a terrible thing. Satoko had lots of appearances in the main scenario. Grudge of somebody not making an appearance. Damn it, when was she able to set this many traps? I think I'm gonna guess what the punchline is gonna be. Maybe that when this place was selected as the venue for the after party. At that point, my traps were already set? Oh, I know. There's somebody behind you pulling the strings. There is, isn't there? Come out. Hello, my sister. How are you doing? Oh, it's Gion-chan. No, that's not what you say. Hello. I feel sorry for her falling for the same trap twice. I thought it was you, Shion. Even though you're penciled in to be the main character in the next scenario, this is an outrage. Now you've gone and done it. Even if it is only the bonus scene before the answer arcs, I can't let my sister have all the appearances. I'm not that generous, you know. Well, in any case, I just let Satoko start a little something. Shion, what is that you want? What is it that you want? Let's just say I'm securing myself a little safety buffer. The other day, for some reason, you were steadily getting more votes in the popularity poll. Yep, in the first half of the Watanagashi chapter, there were a lot of people getting infatuated with Michan, as they should. When your malicious side made its appearance, all the players finally noticing my charm. Satoko also earned a good reputation during the Tatarigoroshi arc. Reina and Nika-chan have a strong baseline of support. Your popularity has long since faded away. As it should. That's why I thought I'd take the time now to crush you and Satoko, who have been getting too many votes for my comfort. So I came up with this elaborate plan. Huh? Shion-san, what did you say just now? You're going to crush me as well? You're a little slow to notice, aren't you, Shorty? Nani? Here you go. What? What was that? Goodbye, all you regulars. Hello to all you irregular folk. All the main characters are done for. Shion-chan, you don't have to go that far. Probably. Oh, you'd be surprised. Now, Jiro-san. It's interesting, so just let it be. The number of appearances for the both of us is going to go up, you know? Jiro-san, do you not like being by my side? That's not true. Jie-sensei, did Chi-chan pay you off too? I'm sorry, Duku-san. Jian-san, that she... Shion-san said she would make me a new segment called Teach Me Chie-sensei, starting from the next scenario, so I just... Well then, who should I dispose of next in a most embarrassing manner? Maybe Satoko, since she helped me set this all up? I won't allow that. Yeah! Oh. Coach! He seems somehow reliable for once. I, Irie Kyosuke, shall not allow any aggression against Satoko-chan. I may also just be a supporting character. But don't think you can persuade me so easily. Oh, then you're saying you want to withdraw from being the lead in live performance Satoko's maid training dress-up chapter that we planned on filming after this? Shion-sama, I, Irie Kyosuke, shall follow you to the depths of hell! That was fast. Well then, with this I'm holding all the cards. Even as after party scene 2, I'll have everything proceed as I see fit. Huh? We're missing somebody. Jion-sama? Nana-san isn't here. She escaped at some point. There she is. Nugu-san. Didn't I just tell you you shouldn't move? Nana-chan, I won't do anything to hurt you, but it's easier if you don't resist. Sorry, but all this is really bizarre. What are you trying to do? The light switches. I see you're planning to do something when the room's pitch black, aren't you? Resistance is futile. Nana-san, you should stop your pointless resistance and just come along peacefully. If you make me angry enough, then not only will you suffer, but so will my dear sister as well. You can't do anything just by turning off the lights. Nana, I'm sorry, but do what they say. It's all right, don't worry. By turning off the lights, we can reverse the situation. Reverse the situation? Exactly, what are you scheming? Nana-san, you're pretty good at making me laugh. Then why don't you go ahead and try? Show me how you're going to turn this around. You're spoiled, Shi-chan. Even if you didn't have any appearances in the main scenario, you've had so much screen time during this after party. You're spoiled. When exactly are you saying I was spoiled? You don't understand, Shi-chan. Even if it's just the after party, you still have an appearance. You also appeared a lot in the previous scenarios. Oh yes, here it comes. It has to be coming. There's somebody who resents you from the depths of hell, who can't forgive you. Listen, can't you hear it, Shi-chan? That's right! I understand now! I get it! Kei-chan! That's right, he never has any appearances during the after parties. There's no way Kei-chan would allow somebody to monopolize the after parties all to themselves without him. I see, so how is Kei-chan going to appear here when he doesn't have any character art? It couldn't possibly be that they insert new character art just for this. That's just your self-centered way of thinking, Shi-chan. Gah, no. If the lights are turned off, Chie-sensei, hold Lena-chan back. Huh? Huh? It's too late! Save me, Keiichi-kun! That voice is Kei-chan. Lena, you have my thanks. When even the moon abandons the land and shrouds it in true darkness, the demon lord of the darkest black, Mayabara Keiichi, shall appear. I see, if it's like this, he can appear even if he doesn't have any character art. Oh, are you for real? There's no character art or background art, so it's really easy on the production staff. Shion, you act like you're the main character in a tragedy, but from my point of view, it's more like a comedy. It seems like you've gotten a little carried away. Every after party, without any character art, without any sort of appreciateness, witness my anger, my grudge, and all my sorrow. I shall instill it all upon you. It almost seemed like Keiichi-kun is doing some sort of bad guy transformation sequence. This isn't some sort of transformation. I'll have you know I've always been a demon lord. And as of right now, this world, which is enveloped within true darkness, shall dance upon the palm of my hand. Within this world of darkness, there are none who can oppose me. Keiichi-kun is kind of scary. How scary? The age of the frightening Higurashi has come to an end. From here on out begins the dawn of a perverted and cutesy Higurashi. What did you say? Mayabara-sama, bring me with you! You know it, coach. Then, as a first stop, I'll show our doctor and coach my power. What is this? Takano-san in a miniskirt nurse outfit? And it's not some pink one like you find. He knows what he's doing. It's a proper, pure, and innocent white. Even though she's a nurse, she doesn't appear in the outfit once during the main scenario. You've got to be kidding me. Well then, on to the next target. Rena! This hasn't changed the situation at all. It just turned into a different type of crisis. Oh, I can't do anything in this darkness. Now then, who should I make wear what next? Maybe a nice school uniform, gym clothes, school swimsuit triple combo. Mayabara-sama, you're the best. How about a bunny girl or a campaign girl? No, lingerie could be good too. No, wait. How about just about making everybody naked? But of course, leave the socks on. Whoa, that's a good idea. You know your stuff. Coach, I feel like we're finally seeing eye to eye here. Wait, Mayabara-san. No. Kei. Call me ill from now on. Is that how they made it from Edie? Call me Dr. Ill. Kei! You can't forget about us! Oh god, is it? Tommy and Cloud are already at your side, Kei. Tommy, Cloud, we're all finally here. The Elite Four have arrived. Finally, with Kei at their head, the evil Elite Four made their grand entrance. With the complete darkness, the demon lord of the darkest black, Mayabara Keiichi, was finally able to reach the surface world. His magical power was without equal. In this darkness, nobody could stand against him. All must bow. Will the heroines be unable to escape this darkness and be forced to submit to the will of the demon lord, forced to wear embarrassing outfit after embarrassing outfit, being used as life-size dress-up dolls for all eternity? That's great. More. By the way, the school swimsuits are the classic type, right? I won't forgive you if they're the competitive swimming style. Damn it. Jihan, thanks to you, it ended up like this, so do something about it. It's all right, sis. Kei-chan isn't the only one who can unleash their true power amid the darkness. Huh? Did we have such a convenient ally? Yeah, You're rather impertinent, Sonozaki Shion. Also, if you were expecting help from the principal, that's too bad. This is the ultimate desire of young men. If you call yourself a man, do your best is written on this nice authorization slip here. Of course, you won't be able to rely on the newcomer Akasaka-san either. He's been on a private couple's hot spring vacation his wife's family sent up for them since yesterday. Aww. In other words, all the bases are covered. You're so naive, Kei-chan. Even characters who have art are able to reveal their true form in the darkness. Chie-sensei! That's how it is, Mayabaraka. Oh no. Oh no. It's dark, so I can't really tell, but it seems like it seems like Chie-sensei's outfit is... What are those? All those swords in her hands. What is that sound that I'm hearing? That sound, that doesn't sound like typing. What are those? Oof. Ah. It's gotten very quiet all of a sudden. I'm just going to throw this up for anyone that doesn't know the reference. Anyway. It couldn't be. Any more than that is a secret. Yeepaw. Mayabaraka. That was just a little too much mischief on your part. The church can't overlook any more than this. Wait a minute! This here! There's no way, right? That's cheating. It's against the rules. Hey, she can't do this, right? Wait, you can't use that big one! Huh? Her arc drive has startup invincibility? Let's start with... It actually went in a very different direction. That was fun. Hello again. Thank you very much for playing Higurashi When They Cry, Himatsubushi. I think you already know this, but Higurashi When They Cry is a type of visual novel without any choices. Therefore, compared to adventure-type visual novels with branching routes to take, it's much closer to the experience of a book or a movie. Because of that, there is the opinion out there that this should not be called a game per se. If you're just watching it like a book or movie, Higurashi When They Cry isn't really a game, true. That's why, as you know, there are a lot of mysteries referenced during the course of the experience. When you challenge these, this work will become a proper game. All the players have the privilege of scrutinizing this mystery-packed story from all sorts of angles. For example, forming a theory about the mysteries during the course of the story, Sharing them with your friends and receiving their theories in return could be fun. In any case, the next chapter starts the answer arcs. We've tentatively called it Miyakashi. But answers are a sad thing. Based on what is revealed, all the possibilities you were allowed to imagine until now will suddenly become refined down to a few. Basically, based on that logic, we think that right here, before the answer arcs, is probably where people can enjoy this work we call Higurashi When They Cry the most. If by chance, when you are reading this, you already have the Miyakashi chapter at hand, please, God damn it, I'm gonna cry again, fuck. You already have the Miyakashi chapter at hand. Please enjoy hypothesizing, theorizing, and fantasizing to the fullest before you start. That's where the real charm of the series takes place. Sorry for saying something so impudent. There's nothing better we'd like than for you to enjoy Higurashi When They Cry. Well then, have a long and pleasant night. We're waiting for you all in Hinamizawa. If you come and play with Rena, I'd love to go treasure hunting together. How? Oh. Well, that was fun. I think I'll leave it on this screen so it can keep the music. Whew. It's almost 3 in the morning and I'm overcome with the urge to suddenly write and goddamn. You know, I mean, I know, I guess that really does kind of feel like an ending, huh? I'm just Anyone out there, I hope you are enjoying. I hope you have enjoyed. If, for whatever reason, you haven't, for God's sake, the first Higurashi visual novel is free on Steam. I don't know if it's still free, but it's been free forever. I implore you, please go pick it up. It is free. Even if you never read it, I'm sure there is some metric that shows the additional purchase. I have loved, I am falling in love again with this series for so long, and its successor, Umineko, it inspired me to want to, or was a part of inspiring me to pursue visual novel development, and just I don't know, I did not goddamn expect I was gonna, well, one, be feeling this awake at almost 3 a.m., but two, it's emotional. At the end of Himatsubushi, of all things, I figured, it'll be Miyakashi, or honestly, Tatori Goroshi got me, and I bet if I had actually read them in order, it would have gotten me way worse than it did. But yeah, citizens, wherever you are, I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I hope you're okay. I hope you're doing your best, chasing your dreams or whatever. Just, be good, live good. Yeah. Well, citizens, I think this is the part where I'm supposed to go. Anyway, this has been Justiguy. I'm afraid that this is farewell, and blah 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 yada.